welcome to the Patriot Hour for April 8th, Monday, April 8th, 2019. I am Michael, your host. If you're new to the channel, thanks for stopping by. Thanks for joining in. Thanks for giving us some of your time. All right, we know it's valuable. We know you are busy, got work, kids, homework, after school activities to run them back and forth to sometimes. Folks, I got some interesting articles we're going to go over here today. Let me pull this up. Again, if you're new, make sure you're subscribed and then maybe ring the bell. You'll ring that little bell and then you can actually toggle that switch to work with you and your device and how you want to be alerted if your phone's going to vibrate or, make sounds. All right, again, let's take a look here. Michigan government to create thought criminal database to flag those who contradict all official lies. It's an interesting little article here. Let me make this a little big. This comes from the DC Dirty Laundry, and I'll leave the link right below so you can check it out yourself. So natural news, Michigan Attorney General Dana Nessel, who for all intents and purposes looks suspiciously like a transgender, has decided to launch a full-scale crusade against the First Amendment. According to reports, Nessel is planning to create a hate crime unit as part of Michigan's government, the purpose of which won't necessarily be to prosecute hate crimes, which aren't a real thing anyway, by the way, but to actually police the speech and thoughts of Michigan residents to make sure they align with a government ideology. By creating a database of people who think for themselves, Nessel is on record as stating that she plans to keep an all-seeing eye on people who commit thought violations, which aren't real crimes, according to the United States Constitution. It is important to understand that these are not convicted criminals or people who, Michigan, the state has reason to believe, have committed or are planning to commit a crime, writes Jay Lorenz for FashionTheNation.com about the people Nessel is planning to target with her unconstitutional hate crime unit. The new database is specifically designed to target law-abiding Americans, he adds. Nessel plans to partner with the corrupt anti-white Southern Poverty Law Center to boot stamp all free speech and thought in Michigan. During the recent public announcement, Nessel admitted that she's planning to partner with the shamed and disgraced Southern Poverty Law Center, the SPLC, an anti-white hate group, posing as an anti-hate group to compile her thought criminal database. It is important to remember that most of the groups on the SPL's hate group list are merely associations of people who believe in things like traditional marriage between one man and one woman, for instance, as well as groups comprised of people with white skin who simply celebrate their ethnic heritage. The SPLC list is simply a list of people with whom the SPLC disagrees. Lorenz further writes, the government will investigate citizens based on not their actions, but what their political opinions are. For more related news about the anti-white political correctness that's sweeping the nation via corrupt leftist politics, make sure to check out the Politically Correct News. So Michigan's thought crimes will almost certainly be all white, as targeting political incorrect Muslims, Jews, LGBTers would be considered intolerant and hateful. If you put the pieces of this deceptive puzzle together, it quickly becomes clear that Nessel's goal isn't to stamp out hate, but rather to perpetuate it, and specifically to perpetuate hate and intolerance against white people. At the end of the day, targeting free speech and the First Amendment by crouching it as hate, simply because it contradicts the politically correct narratives of our day, is the epitome of authoritarianism. And because these types of free speech being targeted include that made by people on the SPLC's anti-white hate group list, well, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to see where it is all headed. Even mainstream politicians like Elizabeth Pocahontas Warren are indicating that they're on board with this anti-white agenda, having recently tweeted about what she describes as the threat of white nationalism and how, under her presidency, God forbid, my Justice Department would go after white nationalists with full prosecution. The list consists of thousands of people, many of whom have views that are totally mainstream outside of the hyper-liberal echo chamber of government and elite society, Lorenz concludes in his assessment of the situation. In addition to that, the state reserves the right to add anyone it wishes to the list. Criticism of Israel, race realism, pro-right activism, and many other forms of expression could land you on that list. And any political official or political expression from a white person that is not explicitly global homo in nature could land him on that list. Folks, it's getting pretty crazy here, pretty scary. Some of the things they're starting to pull. That is just unbelievable and unbelievable. So they want to add, if you have certain views, you don't buy into all the bull crap that the government wants to put out as official, you can be added to this list if you live in the state of Michigan. That is unfortunate, and that's only going to spread. This is just where it's starting. This is something that we're reporting on. Leave your thoughts below on that, what you think, and if you're from Michigan. We got this other little article I want to jump in here. Mexican cartels are operating child recycling rings. They're creating fake families, basically, all right? So Mexican cartels operate child recycling rings to flood the U.S. with more migrants, and Democrats question the Trump administration's compassion. So at the same time, the Democrats are lecturing Trump administration officials about ongoing crisis along the U.S.-Mexico border. They are refusing to help the White House solve the problem by denying the president funds to construct new border walls and barriers. In a testy virtue signaling exchange last month with Department of Homeland Security Secretary Christian Nelson, she's stepping down, by the way, Representative Nanette Barragan, and a Democrat from California, surprise, accused her of lacking feeling and compassion for migrant families being detained at our southwest border. You wanted to separate children and families. You wanted to do it with compassion, she blared. So in the meantime, you didn't do anything at all. You let the kids be separated without tracking them. Do you know how outrageous that is, Madam Secretary? We can answer that. Not nearly as outrageous as if it for Democrats like Barragan to continue perpetuating the very humanitarian crisis at the border, as well as DHS's response to it that they complain about. So along with POTUS, Donald Trump, Nielsen has repeatedly appealed to Congress for help, for wall funding, for additional resources, for changes to current asylum laws that are being exploited on a minute-by-minute basis. But instead of acting on those appeals, Barragan and her Democratic constituents in the House have instead chosen to play blame games with the Trump administration over policies, rules, and regulations that have been in place for years. Smugglers creating fake families. Meanwhile, outside the faulty federal laws, Democrats and wishy-washy responses from the Mexican government, the cartels south of the border are mostly responsible for the humanitarian abuses of children and families. That includes, by the way, recycling children, kidnapping them, and giving them to an adult across the border, present themselves as a family. Nielsen told Fox News' Tucker Carlson Tuesday. The Daily Wire reported on this. We broke up so-called child recycling rings, if you can believe it, in the last couple of months, which is where smugglers kidnap a child, she said. Once they get in, because as you know, we can only hold families for 20 days, they send the child back and bring the child back with another family, another fake family, another adult, Nielsen added. She noted further, we are working to crack down on the transnational criminals, the gangs, and smuggling and trafficking. But I cannot be clear, and I don't think the president can be any more clear. He will take every action within his authority to stop this flow. In my opinion, where did it go? In my opinion, right now, this is one of, if not the biggest crisis this country has faced in a decade. truly, I mean, the security aspects of this, the humanitarian aspects of this have got to be addressed. She went on to point out, and this is important, that most of the illegal migrants flooding our borders are not seeking asylum. They're looking for economic opportunity. That's called a migrant worker, a migrant economic worker. All right. I mean, I think what you saw also in the clip that you showed is many of the people coming are economic migrants. There you go. They are not truly seeking asylum, Nielsen said, noting that smugglers are abusing children too, but the U.S. can't, by law, just return them. We want to help those who are, but many of them have been given magic words to come in to get a job and to take that job away from Americans. So we are looking to increase rates at E-Verify. We've made it easier for employees to comply with it, but we're looking to do everything we can throughout the system to apply penalties where we can. So the Border Patrol agents have also been pleading for Democrats' help. In other words, most migrants really aren't escaping violence and corruption, but the cartels and whoever else is encouraging them to take the journey to the U.S. have told them to claim that because they know that our asylum laws say and how our asylum process works. So Border Patrol officials have been pleading with Congress for border walls too, and have a former DHS employee officials and agents. In February, for instance, former DSS agent, Special Agent Tim Ballard, an expert in battling sex trafficking, wrote that anyone opposing the president's border wall have never utilized the wall to rescue sex trafficking victims and therefore do not understand its power for good, its power to rescue trafficked children. In contrast to the critics, I worked 12 years as a special agent undercover operator for Homeland Investigations, 10 of which included a tour combating sex trafficking on the southern border, he continued. Since the time, I have continued the fight as CEO of the anti-trafficking organization Operational Underground Railroad, or R Furthermore, and I have worked closely with the heads of every U.S. agency whose job it is to find rescue children being trafficked across the southern border. Altogether, we are the ones and the only ones who have utilized or are utilizing the border wall to rescue children. We are the experts, and we all agree that building, expansion, and strengthening of the border wall has been one of the many effective tools and will continue to be an effective tool in rescuing of trafficked children. But Democrats like Berrigan and her California crony, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, don't care. To them, denying POTUS Trump border walls and barriers is all about flooding our country with new Democratic voters while denying him a political victory before 2020. Talk about a deficit of compassion. So there you go, folks. These people are opposing. They know it's a clear stance of us fighting, taking down, stopping, slowing down trafficking. If you can stop one trafficked kid, you're doing better than not. So to get all eyes on the border to help it, slow it down, stop it is better. And these people claim no. And for whatever reason, whether they're involved in the trafficking or they really just want more people to come here so they can have voters. Not real sure. It's crazy. I don't know how anybody who's paying attention can see it for anything else and argue their point that we don't need to stop trafficking. Trafficking's here already too. That's what a lot of people will do when you argue with them or talk. You're like, we need to stop trafficking. You know, trafficking's here. Yeah, we want to stop that too, but we want to stop it here. We want to stop it there. We want to stop it here. We want to do it all, 100% or nothing. All right, that's how we do. All right, we don't diddle-dally. We don't do, since it's going on at the border and we got it going on in our country, we're not going to do anything. That's what it seems like some people want to tell you and try to get you to agree with. And we say no to that. All right, again, I'm Mike. This is a Patriot Hour. Shut this one down. I will be back at one point throughout the day. Again, thanks for stopping by. Thanks for watching. Please give a thumbs up. It helps beat the algorithms. We are heavily shadow banned. Share this with your social media platforms while we can. We appreciate that. Share it across all your social media platforms. Again, take a look in the description box. All the links are there below. Any donations, the links to the website here. We appreciate it. And again, read everything for yourself. Don't ever take what we say here to be truth or 100% word. you connect your own dots, do your own process of analyzing and looking at everything you can, reading everything you can, watching everyone you can, and believe none of it until you can verify it. Again, have a great day. God bless. Godspeed each and every one of you. And we'll see you back here real soon on the next Patriot Hour update video. Have a great morning into your afternoon.